what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Dustin's Vinyl. It's so good to be back talking music. One of my favorite things in the world. When everything goes to shit, you always got music. That's what I always say. Really happy to be here. Talking music. We're going to get into some vinyl records because, I love vinyl records. I had a dispute with somebody the other day online about the quality of sound, saying that vinyl doesn't match digital, and like we're having this whole back and forth and stuff. And I don't know, there's just something, if you're a vinyl person, that it just has a groove that you enjoy. It's not one is better than the other. Maybe certain electronic music sounds a little different on digital, but I love modern music. I don't want you to think I'm just this guy that's just pulling out old dead white guy music, which there's a lot of that on the show today. But I do love Spotify, and I want to share a little thing. I'm doing a little impromptu. I'm pulling the Audible on the show. None of the my crew knows what is happening. I was kind of scoping around and Spotify, and I found a really cool band. This is a band called The Pretty Reckless. And they're a brand new band, and they've kind of been around a little bit, but sexy cover there. Death by Rock and Roll is their new single coming out 2021. It's going to be released. The whole album will come out, and just a really cool rock and roll band. They kind of sound like the opening of a James Bond movie. They kind of have like this. It's a girl voice, just real sexy and sultry, but really kind of white stripey music, and just really cool band. So if you get a chance, check out The Pretty Reckless. Really cool new band that I am going to follow from here on out. So you can check them on Spotify. Death by Rock and Roll is their single, and they have a video out, and it's like some guys, stabbing a skull with like a syringe. Like, it's all dark and weird, and it's really up my alley. So if you get a chance, check that out, because we're all about new music as well as the classics. We're going to do a random pull today. We're staying on theme with the Christmas, because Christmas is coming. And even if you don't celebrate Christmas, I'm sure you still enjoy Christmas music. This is The Ventures' Christmas album. I don't know if any of you are fans of surf rock. I'm a big fan of Dale Butler and all that stuff. This is The Ventures, Don Wilson, Bob Bogie. Really cool stuff. It's great when you listen to a Christmas album and it kind of has a different rock sound or rhythm blues or something different. And this definitely has that. If you like that surf Hawaii 5-0 kind of stuff, they did Christmas songs with that guitar lick and stuff. And so it's really cool, wild stuff, like Jingle Bell Rock and stuff like that. Sounds like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, just versions you've never heard with this kind of, California surf rock sound. And so this is a really cool album. It's kind of a vintage. It's a little hard to get. But if you want to search out something that's different, and you want your Christmas music to be a little, different than the average, Bing Crosby kind of stuff, for the, typical, Mormon Tabernacle Choir or whatever you listen to for Christmas, this I recommend. The Ventures is cool. I really enjoy surf rock all around. I think it's like one of my favorite instrumental kind of music, where it's just has that twangy guitar, a guitar sound that no other genre of music really has. So get you some Ventures. It's really cool stuff. This is the Christmas album. I recommend it as a weird, cool Christmas listen, if you will. So I'm getting ready for Christmas. I'm excited. But we get presents, and one of my presents is having a terrific co-host, a guy that's he's coughing. Hope he doesn't have COVID, and he's been he's been around the music business for a really long time. He's toured with bands and done production and security and all kinds of stuff. Had his own record shop, and a funny comedian, Jeffrey Paul, in the studio. What's up, buddy?
Hello, Dustin.
What's up? How are you? Good to see you.
Yeah, good to be seen, man. How are you?
I'm all right. What do you think about the Ventures? You like that surf rock stuff?
Love it. I absolutely love it. They do a great version of Ghost Riders in the Sky.
Oh, sweet.
And yeah, and it's like, there's no vocals on any of their songs. It's just them playing, and where there would be vocals, it's that lead guitar, and like you described it perfectly, that twang to it. I guess people would know them more from the Hawaii 5-0 theme. I think probably that and Wipeout would probably be their two biggest hits, right?
Yeah, Line Surf. I think Line Surf Rock was a big one.
But also think just a few years ago, I remember seeing them get inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So yeah, that's an interesting choice. I didn't even know they had a Christmas album. So
You
that's a
never
good
know with
find.
bands. Sometimes they just throw it out there. What about that band, Pretty Reckless? Have you heard them yet? They're really,
Yeah,
really
they've
cool,
been
man.
around for a little
Like
while. I mean,
2011 or something, but this is kind of their newer. I think hopefully they'll get a little more of a hit this time.
well, any bands that I think that are playing instruments, not playing not auto tune, that play their own instrument, those are the bands like I kind of gravitate to and like and want to support. You said they have a new album coming out.
Yes, they have a single that's out now, and in 2021 the whole album comes out. So
I see. I didn't hear anything new from them. So did you like what you heard?
I did. Death by Rock and Roll, man. It's a really cool kind of sultry hard rock song. Really cool.
Would you put them in the same kind of category of like maybe like a Hailstorm?
Kind of more kind of, I see it as kind of like Kate Bush, meets this kind of, I don't know, just kind of their own sound, really. Just kind of a hard rock, Kate Bushy kind of thing. If you don't know Kate Bush, she's kind of like before Sinead O'Connor, there was like this Kate Bush sound.
She had a big hit with Running Up That Hill.
Absolutely.
All right. So let's get into today's featured album. And
Old White Guys.
It is Old White Guys, but you know what, Dustin? I support Old White Guys because
Old White Guys are popular right now. They're apparently you can't get rid of them. You can't get rid of Old White Guys. They just they end up running the country. They end up throwing, being quarterbacks. Like it's just Old White Guys are here to stay.
Yeah, they're like mold. You're right. You just can't get rid of them.
Can't get rid of them. We try, baby.
But you know what, though? It is rare when you have a supergroup that actually lives up to the hype. Like this is the supergroup, that lived up to the hype. We're talking about the Traveling Wilburys. Yeah, look at that. I mean, you have 5 guys there. Each of them can sell out a stadium on their own. George Harrison, Roy Orbison, Tom Petty, Jeff Lynne, Bob Dylan. I mean, it's insane. And the thing is, I got to tell you, since we've been doing this, I think this was the most enjoyable week I had listening to an album over and over again. And then just going down the wormhole, which is Roy Orbison, which we'll get to, because in my opinion, he's the standout. And they're all great. They're all phenomenal. But he's the guy that really stood out to me in this super group. And okay, so where do they start? They were all friends, and basically the group starts with Jeff Lynne was at the time recording George Harrison's Cloud 9 album.
Yeah.
And they were in Los Angeles, and they would just be hanging out at night. And they need to record some tracks, and got Dylan involved somehow. They wind up recording some of the.
Well, let me back you up just a little bit. So yeah, they were having dinner, and Jeff Lynne and Harrison were talking about working on a B-side of one of his singles.
Correct.
His 45s, right. And Roy Orbison was there and wanted to just watch. He wanted to come hang out and watch them produce, this album. And then I think it was with Bob Dylan. Let's see. It was like, did he leave his guitar, or Tom Petty somehow left his guitar over at Bob Dylan's house? Like it's this whole universal weird kind of thing that came together. it was like I don't know what it was. Dylan had the studio. And then, that's what it was. And somehow they said, we'll go to Bob Dylan's house because he has the studio. And then somehow George Harrison left his guitar over at Tom Petty's house. That's what it was. So he went to Tom Petty's house to get the guitar.
I think it was the other way. I think it was Petty left the guitar. Think about it. Tom Petty left his guitar, and then all of a sudden they make this super group. So insane. It's so insane. They would be sitting there drinking coffee and start jamming and break into a riff. They would all join in, and then they write these incredible songs off this for this album. I think on the album, and my favorite track, at least, you can hear the whole influence of Jeff Lynne. I think this is a heavily Jeff Lynne influenced album in the
And I don't know if a
songwriting.
lot of people know Jeff Lynne. Like, won't you explain to them where he's from and everything? Because a lot of people don't. I mean,
he is the Electric Light Orchestra.
Yeah.
He writes all the songs. He produces all the songs. He has like that big over the top swirling type of sound. You hear it on like if you ever listen to the soundtrack of the movie Xanadu, you hear it very big time on the Cloud 9 album. Dustin, do not make fun of me.
You will never live that down. Yeah, I wore an eye patch, but you just quoted Xanadu.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Did you have your roller skates? Did you roller skate to that song? I know you wrestled to Rush. Did you roller skate to Xanadu?
I may have. Not only did I see Xanadu more than once, okay, I went to see the play Xanadu.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yeah, you can never make fun of me. Yeah, all right.
Listen, shit gets revealed on this show.
Yeah, it does.
It does. Yeah, but that's who Jeff Lynne is. And he, again, this big sound. He's the guy that came up with the name Traveling Wilburys. He's the one that they, where they again writes a lot of the songs, but they all got equal song writing credit on this album.
Yeah, well, you know how they came up with the name, right? The stereo equipment was a Wilbury or something. They called it a Wilbury. That was one of the stereo equipment they used in the studio. And then they originally it was the trembling Wilburys because it trembles.
Yes.
Yeah. And then they were kind of like, nah, I don't know about trembling. And then they kind of went with traveling, and everybody agreed that was a pretty good name. This whole thing was off the fly. It was like geniuses, just mad geniuses, just creating this stuff just out of nowhere.
I mean, you start talking 3 members in. Pick any 3 members. Say George Harrison, Tom Petty, and Jeff Lynne, and then you still got Roy Orbison and Bob Dylan. You know what I mean? It's just amazing.
The best singer and the best lyricist of our time, between the two of them.
Right. And right. The greatest Dylan. But what also kind of stands out on this album as well? I'm listening to it and I'm like, who is this session musician that's playing slide guitar? And I didn't realize it's Harrison. And you forget how great of a guitar player he was. And then, the White Album. He played the lead on While My Guitar Gently Weeps, which is like one of the great guitar songs of all time.
Yeah.
So, it like I said, it's rare that this collective talent lives up to the hype, and they do. Let's bring in producer Adam. Let me ask him his opinion on, does he think that this is a band that lived up to its hype, and were there other super groups that you could think?
So, buddy, hey, Adam, see you. You have it as well. I love that.
I do.
Albums. Yes.
Yep. There we go.
And in the background, last week's album.
We got London Calling back there, and I got one Dylan up there. The Basement Tapes up there.
But what do you think about this album? I also think I see Versus Pearl Jam all the way up.
Yeah. That's Versus all the way up there too.
What do you think about this Traveling Wilburys, man? Did the album live up to what you thought it was going to be, or you kind of see maybe other super groups may have been just as good, if not better?
I mean, this is the ultimate super group, and I would say that this album is just pure rock and roll joy. And just like you were saying before, I mean, like just listening to this over the past week, it was just it was so fun, so enjoyable to listen to. And it's just amazing. I mean, you guys already touched on kind of the happenstance of how this group came about. And it's just amazing that this album actually exists. I mean, how many other, you have 5 rock icons in there. How many other times do you have this happen?
All of them in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Harrison twice.
Well, just the impromptu of this whole thing too. I think originally they had a drum machine, and then they brought in like a sessions drummer. I think Jim Keltner, I think his name. And but I watched a little bit of the documentary, and like in his percussion stuff, sometimes he's like playing bottles in the refrigerator. Like he's playing the blinds at some point just to make these weird sounds. Like they'll just put a microphone next to something in the apartment, the condo, wherever they were, and he's just like playing stuff. And apparently, I think the house was the guy from the Eurythmics. What's his name? Dave Stewart. Yeah.
Dave Stewart. Yeah,
it was his house, and that's where they were like hanging out and creating all this magic. So then you got that on top of it. You have just all these just amazing artists.
And think about what the Eurythmics were in the 80s.
The what?
Especially in think about how big the Eurythmics were in the late 80s.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
When this album comes
Huge,
out.
yeah.
You know? For me, my favorite song, I mean, like, I love the album. There's maybe one track on it that, you know, I wasn't a big fan of. Congratulations.
I love that song. That's my favorite. I think it's a fantastic song. That's Dylan's. It's Dylan. Dylan shines in that song. It's fantastic.
To me, you know, it's a little draggy.
You can't critique an album, a song off an album that was in 10 days, bro. 10 days. They made it in 10 days, man. Come on.
It's funny. It's like of all the songs that I pick that I don't like, that's your favorite. This is so typical of this.
Congratulations. I just love the harmony to it. It's great. You don't like it? That's weird.
No, I'm a weird dude. No, but my favorite song, my favorite song was "Not Alone Anymore." I don't think about people trying to maybe even cover this song. You can't cover Roy Orbison. It made me go down a Roy Orbison rabbit hole where I was just listening to like this one. I was like, this guy has to be one of the greatest vocalists.
He is. He's the greatest rock singer of all time. If he had looked like Elvis, he would have been bigger.
My God.
Yeah. Elvis even said that at one point. Like, it's like that he was the greatest singer. Yeah, he was fantastic.
Dustin, when you hear when you know the song, I mean, especially the song is just a song about loneliness. I mean, tell me, it brings you back to, okay, now I got to go back and listen to Crying. It's Over. You know, it almost sounds like this is a continuation. Obviously, the song was written for Orbison, you know, by Jeff Lynne, but it's gut wrenching, you know, the way he sings when he talks and laments about heartache, and the lyric you always said, I would know someday how it feels when your love walks away. You know, you could feel the heartbreak in his voice. You could see him looking through that window, which the song describes, and how you take love for granted. He was the king of that. Oh my God, man.
Absolutely. I think one reason this album works so well too is there's no ego in a band like this, because that's, and you would think, I mean, all these guys have every right to have an ego. They're icons for every, aspect of the business. But yeah, I think it's like, it's a fruit of love. Like they were all like, they respected each other. And then the whole thing is like, they showcased each other in this entire album. Like everybody had kind of a showcase piece on every song. Like they knew what to do with Roy Orbison, and he's kind of like along for the ride, because I watched the documentary and he's just kind of like, hey man, I just did whatever they told me to do. Like I was just happy to be a part of this band. And what's emotional about it as well is this was his last piece of music before he died. And so it was like really kind of his, and he even said it, I guess a couple of days before he died, that he was really happy that, he made this record with them because he got to go out on top because this album was huge. And like, it's kind of a farewell to him as well.
Yeah, because I think the second single on the album was "End of the Line."
Yep.
And he died where he didn't even get a chance to be in the video. If you remember,
yeah, it's a pretty cool video though. They have like his guitar and then a rocking chair, and they got it's really emotional. Like you'll cry if you watch the video.
Oh yeah,
powerful. You got Roy Orbison's picture in the corner, and they're just kind of panning to it. It's like just heartbreaking, but it's so cool that he was able to do this.
It is, and you mentioned Dylan. Like, okay, so you like Congratulations. For me,
I like all of it.
The Dylan song that I loved on here was "Tweeter and the Monkey Man." It's the longest song on the album. He was trying to go for, I think, a Springsteen type of feel where he's telling a story. You could, if you listen to the lyrics, you could hear the whole story. It almost like played out like an episode of a crime drama.
Oh, it's phenomenal. And I watched how they made that song. And basically, Harrison handed out a bunch of auto magazines. And then they're just basically reciting some of the lines that they read in the magazines, like Gearbox. And they would just kind of go around and say random things. I don't even think they knew what was happening until these songs were finished, because it was so experimental, a lot of this stuff.
What was the documentary that you were watching? Because this sounds really good.
It was the one that was, I think it was from the box set. It was the one that George Harrison's wife produced.
There's also a lot of Jersey references on this song as well, right? I mean, did you catch that?
Yeah,
you're a big Jersey guy.
Yeah. I mean, Jersey City first. There's also Rahway Prison in there.
Right.
They basically name check a whole bunch of Springsteen songs: Mansion on the Hill, Thunder Road, State Trooper, Jersey Girl, Tom Waits, but which became a Springsteen staple.
That's it.
I'm trying. There were a bunch more.
Stop in the middle.
That's not how you treat a co-host. Come on, Jeff. Jeff is the worst.
No, I'm trying to remember. There were so many.
He stopped in the middle of the sentence.
Well, what was the last one?
We got any fans out there of this album? Anybody want to like chime in? What do you got, guys?
Yeah, let's see. Girl Bunny, Ron Trey says, "What a group! I didn't know about it either." Let's see who else. Jay Dies-A-Lot. I had no clue about this band. And let's see. And One New York Phantom. It's their first time on Twitch.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay. Well, welcome.
This is what we do.
Good for you.
We talk great music and we educate people on bands.
Speaking of,
and I love that. I love that somebody didn't know this band existed, because even like listening to it, because I remember when it came out, I was into other stuff. I remember the video was popular and I remember it kind of circulating, but I didn't appreciate it. Again, this is an album I didn't appreciate it like I should have, because I was into other stuff. But just listening to it now, as I have more of appreciation for better music, you could just realize how groundbreaking this album is, and how, and just the fact that they did it in so quick shows how talented every single person on this, this band was, and that they just they could do anything. That's how great they were. In 10 days they did this album. It took 6 weeks to produce the entire thing, but 10 days they had the rough cut. Like, it's unbelievable.
And what's also kind of cool is that we're sitting here talking about it, and we didn't even get to the first single, and the hit off of it, which was "Handle with Care."
Handle with Care.
Right? We didn't even get to it, because the deeper tracks are just as good as the single.
Absolutely.
And when we say it was a single success, it wasn't a number one hit. It was, it went higher on like the adult contemporary and rock charts, but in the overall Billboard chart, I mean, it just barely cracked the top 50. And I even believe that this first single was recorded without a drummer. I think they used a drum machine. I don't know if they did that when they were writing it or when they recorded it.
When they recorded it, they used the Sessions guy who worked with Ringo Starr and Harrison on a lot of other stuff. Yeah. And that was, it was Jim Keltner is the guy that originally was the drummer on there.
But the songwriting is great. I think the other thing is when you look at who the members are, they all gave themselves aliases. There was something Wilbury.
That's so fun. Yeah.
Yeah, like they had a good time with this.
Yeah, and like Handle with Care. Apparently, I think what happened with there is George Harrison just looked over at a box, and there was a box, and it said "Handle with Care" on it, and he literally got the title track for that song off of that. He was just like "Handle with Care," and then that's how they did the whole album. I mean, surprised there wasn't stuff like Dr. Pepper can, Like, it was just whatever they were looking at. They were like just pulling information and stuff from their surroundings, which I just think that's so cool. Because sometimes as comedians, we write jokes off, experiences we have or things that are around us. And so to watch this thing come together, is really cool. How they just like randomly like pulled stuff is really fascinating to me.
And they all had like their part to sing in this. And again, for me, Roy Orbison's singing about how he has more love to give is just like, I loved listening to it because it helped me rediscover Roy Orbison, who I haven't thought about in years. We listen to newer music, or we're listening to our favorites, and it's easy for these great artists to kind of get lost in the shuffle, and then to go back and rediscover this. It was like listening to it like brand new again, and that was really like kind of fun to do. So this was a great choice to go back and
it was also difficult to get Dylan. I mean, he was on tour like heavy on like the late 80s and 90s. He was very heavy on tour. So I think that's why they had to do it in 10 days, because he only had that window. So just to get him involved was kind of difficult to just get him for that amount of time. So that was the thing too. That's kind of why they had to rush it, because in order to have Dylan, they had to kind of like squeeze it in. So just all those time restraints and all that stuff, the elements they had to deal with, is just fascinating that this is the product that came out of all that.
And else
Meanwhile,
there is?
Chinese democracy took 6 years, and look what that thing turned out. You know what I mean? It's like certain bands have all the time in the world, and it's like it's shit. This is good stuff.
The song. Did you know that there's a Dustin Chafin connection with the song "End of the Line"? Do you know what the Dustin Chafin connection?
You talking about my career? What are you talking about? That's pretty brutal, Jeff. You didn't have to go that hard.
Jaded comedian.
Twitch is a big deal for me right now.
No,
I'm on the upswing.
Adam, I didn't know. I don't think you knew this about Dustin, but Dustin was in he appeared on a show called Crashing on HBO, and the song "End of the Line" also appeared in an episode of Crashing.
Oh wow!
Oh, I did not know that. Wow. Okay.
So there's a 6 degrees
I like that.
of
I
the
like
traveling
that.
Wilburys
Thanks for doing
to
that.
Dustin.
Thanks for doing that. I would have never put that together.
Well, that's why you got that's why you got me as your co-host.
That's why I have you here. Yes, you're the one.
So I can pull this type
you're a
of
fact
stuff
guy.
out
I
of
love
thin
that.
Speaking of facts, I like the whole idea of if this was the supergroup, who were some of the other supergroups that you think could have rivaled these guys, or were there anyone who you think is underrated as a supergroup? Let's go down that wormhole a little bit.
Well, I'll start with definitely Rated, which would I hate underrated. But Highwaymen is definitely the supergroup of Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, and Chris Christopherson. I mean, you can't, as far as country legends, they rival any this album in the sense of in their genre of music. There's really nobody bigger than those guys. So I would say that would probably be the closest. I mean, there's a whole bunch of other ones, but I think that's probably the closest.
I was thinking, do you remember the group Damn Yankees?
Who was in that?
Damn Yankees
Ted Nugent?
had Ted Nugent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Ted Nugent, Tommy Shaw from Styx, and Jack Blades from Night Ranger. And they had some big hits. They had huge hit with High Enough. They had Don't Tread on Me. They had a couple of other ones I'm just forgetting about, but they that are great. I'm visualizing the videos in my head. Come Again was another like monster hit for them. That was another great supergroup. And do you guys remember the first supergroup who was considered a supergroup? Cream was a supergroup, but where did Ginger Baker come from?
Adam, you're the checker. Whenever we stumble on something, we need you, buddy. Get those Google fingers ready.
Cream, and if maybe anyone's out there, maybe they can help us out a little bit with this, because you had Cream was Jack Bruce, Ginger Baker, and Clapton. They were great supergroups. Remember?
Yeah.
But they all didn't play together, with the Yardbirds. Page, Beck, and Clapton were all in the Yardbirds, never at the same time. I'm thinking also, do you remember Dustin, a group called Asia?
Yeah, I've heard of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Asia was John Wetton from King Crimson, Steve Howe from Yes, Carl Palmer was the drummer from ELP, and Jeff Downes also from Yes and Buggles.
There's also, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
That's a big one.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
There's one that I found recently on a plane when I was watching the Linda Ronstadt documentary. Dolly Parton, Emmylou Harris, and Linda Ronstadt in a trio, and they had 2 albums out, and it was the 3 of them.
Jesus Christ.
And I had no idea either, and I was just like, trying to listen to that. It's fantastic. Those 3 just singing just beautiful, beautiful country songs.
Did the Wilburys, did they ever do a show? Did they ever perform live concert?
I don't think so. And they did 2 albums, I believe. I love how they went. It was Volume 3 was the second album, which they're so funny. Like everything was like tongue in cheek. Like their second album was called Volume 3 because they just kind of wanted to just be funny about the whole thing. I love Velvet Revolver.
Yeah.
Velvet Revolver is one of my favorites.
Yeah,
I think that's a great supergroup,
right?
Scott Weiland, Slash,
right?
Weiland,
yeah, Duff from Guns N' Roses.
Band. Yeah. Let's see. Would you put?
What do you got?
I was gonna say Temple of Dog.
Temple of Dog.
They were great. 90s Mad Season also.
Were they a band or were they more like a tribute?
No, they were band.
Well, they were
more of a
a tribute to Mother Love Bone. Or I think they were. I mean, they were mostly a band. I think because it was Chris Cornell and the guys from Pearl Jam. I think
Was Vedder in the band?
No, Vedder wasn't.
Okay, so yeah, the Mother Love Bone was with I think Goslin, right? And Mike McCready.
Can you ask people out there if they have any favorite super bands? Ask if people have any favorite super bands. I found some weird ones I didn't even know about. A Perfect Circle, I guess, members of Tool, Smashing Pumpkins.
Oh yeah.
And the Vandals.
I guess Chickenfoot would be up there as well.
Yeah, Chickenfoot. Hagar.
Hagar, the drummer from the Chad from the Chili Peppers, Michael Anthony, also for Van Halen, and Joe Satriani. And they put out an album, and they. How
was that album? They're good.
It's really good. Yeah, it's what you think it is. You know,
it's funny when you start kind of like researching some of these. Then there's the Crooked Vultures, I guess, was one that was Dave Grohl.
Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age.
Stone Age. Yeah, I had no idea. John Paul Jones, Led Zeppelin. Like, yeah, just amazing.
But again, I mean, we're talking about amazingly talented bands. You know, none of them, you know, kind of like very few of them lived up to what the expectations you had with Traveling Wilburys, and then when you put it on, and you're not disappointed at all in anything that they put out.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very short run, you know, 2 albums. So, you know, imagine if they had, you know, produced more albums, you know, if Roy had lived and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's really hard to match this album. I mean, I think the second album is good, but it doesn't capture this magic that this one had. And I think just, you know, Roy has a lot to do with that. But yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's cool when bands do that. I think it's interesting. You know, it's like sometimes I think people try to produce a super band, whereas they try to like get the best people. Whereas this is just, you know, just by chance this happened. This is just random. I mean, you know, if they hadn't been at that dinner, if that guy's guitar wasn't at that guy's house, if like that box didn't say something on it, if like, you know, it's like this thing may have not been what it was, you know.
Did any of you guys see any of those members in person? Have you seen them live in concert?
I have not. No. Have you?
I've seen Jeff Lynne, you know, with ELO.
You seem like an ELO guy.
I love ELO. Absolutely.
Yeah, that seems like that's your jam. I wasn't much into them, but I want to get into them. I think it's one of those bands I remember the album covers, ELO, and all the cool, you know, that thing was huge in the 70s, but I just never, they have some great hits, but I just never really went down that path really.
Yeah. I mean, they're a band that, and I don't know, I'm wondering if you would like them, because you don't like orchestras in your rock, and it's in the name, Dustin. Electric Light Orchestra. There's an orchestra.
I don't like the Philharmonic.
There are cellos.
I don't like the Philharmonic. No. I like Primus and stuff. I like certain instruments. You know, I don't mind different instruments. I just don't like it when Metallica's like, okay, here we are with the Philharmonic behind us. It's like that I don't like. I like it if they want to add in kind of weird instruments and stuff. I'm cool with that. I just don't like it when it's like a classical thing behind them and then they try to do their music on top of it. I don't know. I just don't like music layered like that. But I don't mind. Cello. Who doesn't like a cello?
I don't know. Adam's not a big cello guy.
I like a violin. I love all that stuff.
Adam has hard rules about a cello. He does not want cello in his rock.
Adam, we got any people out there?
Yeah, let's see. We got Mansept Civ says Blizzard of Oz.
Who's in that?
Yeah, that's what I'm.
That's Ozzy. That's Ozzy and Randy Rhoads, Rudy Sarzo, and who's the drummer?
They're just randomly just throwing out songs.
No, that was Ozzy putting together a band after he left Sabbath.
Oh, okay. Well, that's technically a supergroup, I guess. If it's different groups, like I mean, technically Dio with Sabbath is, it's technically supergroupy because it's not like they all started together. And then they came up as young lads and then created this band. So it's like people that were successful in other bands.
Randy was a well-known guy, but he wasn't part of any major bands. Rudy Sarzo was
Whitesnake, right?
Yeah, but he, the thing is, that's later after Blizzard
Okay.
of Oz. He goes into Whitesnake. He actually, he played with everybody. He was originally he he wasn't he played live with Quiet Riot, but Chuck Wright was the bass player who recorded Metal Health. So so Blizzard of Oz came out before that. He wasn't well known yet. It was Blizzard of Oz that really blew up Randy Sarzo.
What about CRS? You guys know them? Child Rebel Soldiers. It's Kanye, Lupe Fiasco, and Pharrell. Apparently, that was a thing that happened. I did not know this.
Yeah, is it good? I don't know.
I have no idea. I was looking up. It's probably. I think they had one song.
No, that's a collaboration. That's not.
One more though. Down. That's apparently was a big.
Down.
Members of Pantera, and let's see. I Hate God, I guess, is a group. I don't know. Some of these I'm just kind of like pulling it out.
Know. Would you put in that category Audio Slave?
Yes, absolutely. That's a great
Cornell,
band. That's a
and
great
it's everybody,
band.
Yeah. And it's everybody from Rage with Chris Cornell.
And then you could have Prophets of Rage also.
Prophets of Rage. That's the later one, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's like what they're trying to do. They're almost like they're trying to pull off a Traveling Wilburys type of thing, but it's just too much. Like, it is so hard to duplicate Zach De La Rocha. He was the passion behind Rage Against the Machine, man. You talk about a guy who connects.
It's interesting that you say that because, sometimes it's like as fans, though, I think people just want the band any way they can get it. You know what I mean? Like, I
agree. Yeah.
Sometimes it's like Journey, you don't have Perry, but you got this other guy that sounds really good. So people still feel like they're seeing Journey. They still feel there's a lot of bands that replace the singers and, even AC/DC and different bands, they replace the singers. That's not necessarily forming the supergroup, but it's, the bands change. And then it's like the fans still kind of want the piece of the band, even though, key elements maybe, died or people died or whatever.
Right. You're 1,000% right. Look at a band like right now, like Foreigner. Do you know that you can go out on a night to go see Foreigner and there's not one original member from Foreigner in it some nights? Because Mick Jones is the only guy left from Foreigner who still plays in the band. And there's some nights he takes off and doesn't even perform.
Oh yeah, it's what Leonard Skinner. There's somebody's cousin is like the original member. Like there's nobody left. It's like the Allman Brothers was like that towards the end. It was like there was nobody. It was So, but
do you know what Kiss wants to do?
What does Kiss want to do?
And when Kiss and when Gene and Paul retire, they want to be able to cast another Gene and Paul, have the band go out, play the Kiss songs. They'll collect on it. And it'd go out like a touring band. They'll go in the name Kiss, but it's not going to be one original member. They'll be able to play the Kiss songs because Kiss will allow them to, and they'll pick up royalties on.
That's the genius businessman of Gene Simmons. That guy. I remember I met him once at I was working at the Jacob Javits Center, and I was just kind of like a day job, the kind of thing, and then I was just out of nowhere. Gene Simmons just walks into the Jacob Javits with these two beautiful women. I got up and it was my first, probably the second autograph I've ever gotten from a famous person, and he was there promoting the Kiss coffin. Like that's why he was at this trade show, and it was like, just the idea that like Kiss had like a coffin chain.
He signed for you?
Yeah, he signed. I signed. He signed a thing. Yeah,
wow.
He doesn't sign a lot of people.
Do that a lot.
Yeah, because I know he's kind of weird with that. But I was like the only one that like was excited that he was there because he had just kind of just walked into the building kind of thing. But yeah, they're genius with their marketing. But why not? I saw Kiss this last tour and it was phenomenal. And It was like, it wasn't the original drummer, wasn't, original guitarist, but it was still great. It was no Ace, it was no, Peter Criss, but it was still fantastic. I mean, I couldn't believe what they were doing in their 70s. I mean, unbelievable.
Well, what they're doing in their 70s is they're playing with backing tracks. There was some.
Okay, don't ruin Kiss for me. Okay, it was a great show, and and Paul Stanley was on a wire, and so was Gene Simmons. He's on a wire playing bass in the middle of Madison Square Garden. It was still great. I don't give a shit. Of course he's gonna have some backup vocals stuff. I don't care. You know what I mean? It's not like Britney Spears. They're singing.
No. It was like Britney Spears.
No, they were singing, man. I was there, bro. They were singing. I don't care what anybody says. I defend Paul Stanley. He can still sing.
Listen, Kiss was my first concert. I love Kiss. You know, is there anything better than the beginning of Kiss Alive 2 and the introduction? You know, the hottest band in the land, Kiss, and they open up with Detroit Rock City. Come on, man, that's legendary stuff. It's great, but I'm not gonna ruin Kiss for you.
Don't ruin Kiss for me. Adam, what do you got? You got any fun facts or any people? Talk to us. What do you got?
Yeah, I can give you the Wilbury names of each of the members.
Yes.
All right. So we got George Harrison was Nelson Wilbury, Jeff Lynne, Otis Wilbury, Roy Orbison, Lefty Wilbury. Tom Petty was Charlie T. Wilbury Jr. and Bob Dylan was Lucky Wilbury.
Where is he? There he is.
Tom Petty was the youngest one.
I'm doing this backwards. It's hard to do. All right, we got any questions or anything out there? Fan stuff.
Let's see. There was something I saw before. My Sweet Boy Days said Traveling Wilburys are the first boy band.
Actually, you're wrong. It's Menudo, but good try. Menudo
about the
is
Monkees?
The first boy band. What's up?
What about the Monkees? Were they a boy band?
Interesting. I mean, they did. That's the question. You know, did they play anything? Did they play any instruments? I don't know the real story on that.
Peter Tork did.
Okay, well then it's not a boy band. My definition of a boy band is people that don't play instruments. I mean, that's.
Do you know what right before the pandemic last year, there was
I love how you're just
out.
letting this guy slide by calling the Traveling Wilburys the first boy band. You're just letting that slide, Jeff. You're letting this guy just call this band a boy band. You're just letting that happen. Go ahead.
Okay, you want cantankerous Jeff? Here it comes. Okay, they're not a boy band.
There you go.
Come on.
You they're go not a boy. Kiss. You can't go after this guy.
No, because it's such a stupid thing that the first boy band. It's just someone trying to be snarky and funny.
No boys.
It's not.
They're old men.
They're not
boys.
They're not boys. They're men. You know, one guy died a couple of months afterwards, so they're not a boy band.
Two of them are dead.
Three.
Is two?
Three are dead.
Three.
Yeah.
Harrison.
Oh yeah, Petty died. I forgot that Petty died.
Petty.
Oh, that's horrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say one quick thing, Jeff, and I'll let you have the floor. But I have a thing that a lot of people don't know about me is I'm not a huge Tom Petty guy. Like it's one of those guys that I feel like got a little overplayed in my environment. And so I never appreciated Tom Petty as much as I did listening to this album and kind of going through the wormhole, like you said. It made me appreciate Petty a lot more, especially kind of, you know, him talking about working with this band and kind of like his humility with being able to work with these guys. And then you kind of listen to how great he was. But I really, it kind of took this to kind of make me kind of like back off a little bit and kind of get into Tom Petty again. Cause I just kind of like, was like one of those guys that I heard too much of and was like, I can't take it, you know, with this, you know, I feel like Don't Back Down was on constantly, you know? And so it was like, you know, you know how I am. A lot of times it gets overplayed and I just can't do it anymore. But he definitely won me back on this.
I think Jeff Lynne wound up producing Full Moon Fever, right, Adam?
Yeah, it was right around the same time, I think.
Oh, that was Petty's next album.
Yeah,
I bet that's a good album. Yeah.
I mean, listen, I think anything that Jeff Lynne puts his hands on is he just knows how to produce. He is a great producer. I mean, Cloud 9, I think, was Harrison's most successful commercial album. He just has that sound. He's a master.
I don't know if that was his most commercial album. I think probably, you know, all the Beatles stuff before that, but you mean solo?
I'm talking solo album.
Okay.
I'm talking solo album. Yeah, Jeff Lynne didn't have any name. George was great as a solo artist. Yeah, and he changed as a solo artist, and he had something to say as a solo artist. Yeah, especially when he got sued for what was that? My Sweet Lord.
Oh, tell us the story. I don't know what happened.
Oh yeah, it was found that and listen, I don't. There's no way that he ripped off the chiffons. He's so fine, but it was declared in court that he had stolen the song. My Dear Lord was a ripoff of He's So Fine, which I mean you could hear the similarities, but it's not the same song. But he wound up losing, and then he wound up writing like kind of like a diss track, and the video was him like in I forgot the name of the song, but it's him in court, and it was a great song too. Yeah, I mean Harrison had a cool dark sense of humor as well.
Yeah, very humble too. Out of all the Beatles, I feel like I liked him the best.
Oh yeah. Harrison was great. I mean, I was a big McCartney fan. I met McCartney several times. Worked with him. He was always like as great a musician as he is. That's how much of a gentleman he was to us. I mean, I have a great McCartney story. First time I met him, he had been away for a while. He was After Wings, and he was coming back, and the album that he was coming back to was Flowers in the Dirt. And he had this. He was doing this big press conference over at the I think it was the Belasco Theater on Broadway, and then just said that that night he's going to be doing a concert, and at the theater. And I was like, man, I gotta go see this. So I called one of my buddies who I had a feeling maybe working that, and he goes, yeah, come on down at 5 o'clock. So I came down. I was dressed nice. He goes, you want to work? I'm like, yeah. He goes, you look good. He goes, why don't you do the VIP section? So I go up to the VIP section. I'm sitting there. I got a chair, waiting for me. And I'm sitting next to, I think it was Penny Marshall. And then Axl Rose was there. Raquel Welch. I mean, all like these, like these big shots. And after the show, what you do is you do what is called a sweep, which we would all go down to the floor and start from the stage and work our way up, and until everybody left. As I'm walking up like in a crow's nest, is that's where the dressing rooms are. My friend Fred Girillo, who is Springsteen's road manager now, goes, Jeff, you want to maybe stay like another hour or so until Paul leaves. I go, yeah. He goes, come on up. So I go up, and we're just waiting in this area. And then Paul Schaefer is there, and Keith Richards, and all. I mean, it's sick. And all we're doing is hanging out, talking with them, until great. McCartney comes out. And McCartney comes out about 45 minutes later. First person he walks over to is me. He asks me my name. He asked me my name and introduces himself to me.
That's fantastic.
I didn't know. Oh, really? Paul, you look familiar. Did we work together, play softball? I don't know. Okay.
Is it Paul or Raul? Which is it, Paul? Okay.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Paul, your name sounds vaguely familiar. Okay. What do you do? So he asked me my name. He thanks me for staying, does the same thing to my friend Fred, and then invites his guests back, and then we're able to leave. From that interaction, every single time, and now at the time he's still married to Linda McCartney, right? Linda. He would be in New York. I was always requested to work with him.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It was great. So he would stay at the Plaza Athenry. After Linda died, he didn't stay there again. And he had this, this duplex in the hotel, and he, if you wanted an autograph, I never asked for an autograph or anything like that. It just was
being classy. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And once in a while,
like you've been there.
They would get you anything you wanted. The one thing that they requested was no meat, because they were both vegetarians. Linda was extremely, into being a vegetarian. And when he would leave, like say he was doing Saturday Night Live or whatever he was doing, they needed someone to hang out in his room in case anyone broke in. Now it was a duplex. I was in the room.
Oh, nice.
And it was, dude.
Did you take anything? So now I have good.
You know what I did?
Did you get sell on eBay? You have anything?
I was able to. He had his Rickenbacker.
Okay.
I was able to pick up the Rickenbacker and play it.
Oh, nice.
And
that's so cool.
He had like he had like this file of facts. And I was able to see who it was before cell phones, obviously. So he had like
you're sitting there writing down. You're like, okay, Ringo's number is 946.
It was the first time. was the first time I ever saw a telephone in a bathroom, and I called my father. I was like, "Hey,
Hilarious.
you wouldn't know where I'm calling you from, McCartney's bathroom."
Yeah.
Like so typical.
Paul,
Staten
shit on
Island.
this toilet, and I'm talking to you right now. I don't have
I
my
think a pubic hair stuck to my
connection.
leg.
My connection to Paul is not as exciting at all, but I do have a little bit of a connection. I have a cousin who is an ivory carver, and he would carve like ivory kind of jewelry. And he was a huge Beatles fan and Paul McCartney fan. And so he carved these wings. It was like a necklace and like little, ivory wings. And they sent it to like I guess to his house. Back then you could send letters, like fan letters to like bands and stuff. Anyway, they sent this necklace and it got to Paul McCartney. And he wore this. It's on one of his album covers, and it's like these.
Wow.
I'm sure you've seen it. These little ivory wings, and my cousin like made those and like sent it to him, and then he became friends with them. He invited them to concerts and all that stuff, and then they ended up making necklaces for Willie Nelson and a whole bunch of other people and stuff. But it's like, it's just like this random thing. They just sent it, and then they had this connection, and then they kind of became friendly with him. And
That's
stuff.
really cool.
Yeah,
That's
they made
really
the album
cool.
cover. Yeah, it was pretty cool. So, Adam, do you have a Paul McCartney story?
I have a Paul McCartney picture if I could find it.
What do you got?
might
in
take
case
me a
people
little
don't know
while.
who we're talking about.
All right. Anybody out there? Anybody have anything they want to add to the show? Anything?
Let's see. One New York Phantom says, I drove Uber in the Hamptons and I picked up Stella.
Stella McCartney.
Stella McCartney.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. See, these guys were always worried about harassment and kidnappers and everything. It's true. Because at the same time I was doing that, I was also sometimes with Springsteen, and Springsteen would stay. I don't know if he still stays at the same hotel in the city, so I'm not going to mention it. And he was still married to Patty, but they would, when the kids would go out, me and this other guy would go with them. And just stay, just to keep an eye and make sure that they weren't bothered, wasn't harassed. I've done that for Dave Bryan from Bon Jovi and a bunch of other people as well. But
very cool.
Yeah, I mean, McCartney would have. I remember seeing Stella around. She'd come by the hotel.
Very cool.
See, one New York Phantom says Paul waved her goodbye, and I leaned over and waved at him, and he waved me off with a nod and a smile. He says his house was waterfront massive.
I love fan energy. It's so cool because it's amazing. That's when you're huge, when somebody just says, "Yeah, that guy waved at me once." Yeah. that's
Here's the Paul McCartney photo. If it'll actually show, it probably won't.
Come on, Adam. It's on the phone. We're getting glare.
I know. I don't even.
No one can see that.
I have so many
Jeff.
screens
He's
up
the best
here.
we can. This is a low budget show, buddy. We're doing the best we can. Okay.
So
Was this at a
we could do. Come, stop.
This was the 12-12-12 show at MSG. I had tickets way up, and I had a little point and shoot camera with me. I was kind of backstage a little bit. I saw this light. I just zoomed in, and there's Paul McCartney just smiling with he's got his guitar, and I don't know who he's probably with his band, but I thought it was a cool little photo. Which
little backstage photo. That's very cool. Nice.
I missed that show. I was oh man, I remember. I was
an amazing
away.
show.
I got back too late. I was off for tickets. I missed it.
Very cool. All right, Adam, what do we got? What do we got coming up? We got any? Let's do the.
Yeah. So let's start with a super group. We got Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young reissue of So Far, which is their 1974 greatest hits compilation. So it's a good place to start with Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. And then since we've been talking about Paul McCartney, he's got a new album out, McCartney 3. So that comes out on Friday. Let me see. This is one for Jeff. We got Jewel, Pieces of You, the 25th anniversary.
She gets her teeth fixed. It's a great album. She's not living in a car anymore. So it's
right. So this was our first. It's actually it's 4 LP. It's the complete album, B-sides, rarities, and outtakes. So it's the 25th anniversary.
Now you know what I'm getting you for Christmas, Dustin.
Yeah, I know what I'm getting you.
Enjoy, buddy.
I'll give you that Fleetwood Mac box set.
Touche.
Let's see. We got the Black Keys Brothers, the 10th anniversary, and it's got 3 previously unreleased tracks on it. And there's a new Drive By Truckers album, The New OK,
Good
which
band,
is
good band.
Yeah, they're great. And this is a follow up to The Unraveling, which they released this year also, and it's I think it's from the same session. And there's a Mondo is re-releasing the Back to the Future soundtrack.
Oh wow!
So that's got Power of Love on it. It's got the Alan Silvestri, parts of the Alan Silvestri score, and Earth Angel, and a bunch of other songs from the movie.
That's interesting. One time I was catering, and I used to cater like tuxedo catering, like fancy parties and stuff. And there was like this high end event, and it was actually all African American kind of high end people, like Bill Cosby, Brian Gumbel. It was like all these kinds of people, and it was like this high end event. And I'm like, doing French service and almost spilling stuff on Brian Gumbel and all this stuff. And I look over, and they have a band, and it's all African Americans. And then the band, I look over to the right, and it's Huey Lewis and the News.
Wow!
I was like, who booked this event? Like, you didn't think it through.
Where was this?
Was Kool and the Gang not around? Like, it was the weirdest thing. The whitest band of all time was entertaining this group of people. It's just so funny to me. I don't know why.
Huey Lewis was soulful.
Yeah, they were great. Soul. They were good. They were kind of a
little doo-woppy.
They were a bar band on steroids. Like, they really kind of like, they
exploded.
They were
definitely like
that.
They
paid their dues. They played a lot of live shows before they hit. So yeah, they're good. And that first album is, hit after hit. They were good. Not really my jam, but they were great.
You're talking about the album Sports.
Yeah, that was the first one, right?
Yeah. They had an album before that with Do You Believe in Love, which was
that's a great song.
I think their first big hit. Yeah. No, I loved Huey Lewis in the News. Yeah.
So everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to Dustin's Vinyl. Make sure that you get this album. You can get it on Spotify. I recommend the vinyl because vinyl does sound better. I don't care what you digital heads say. I love how vinyl sounds on a record player with speakers, the way it should be. And thank you guys so much. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Adam. It's a fun show. It's so cool to just, listen to this music again. I look forward to doing the show just so I can listen to this music and just kind of get back into it again. And so I'm excited to see you guys next week. We have some fun stuff coming up for you. And so keep listening to vinyl, keep supporting record stores, get out there and sift through those bins and find good stuff. And if you want to just let us know what you find or what kind of music, if you want to recommend some albums that we cover, put that in the chat. And all right, guys, we'll see you later. Thank you so much for tuning in. Woo!